Hello, my name is Damian Reyes, and this is a presentation for Data 620 at UMGC taught by Professor Carrie. In this presentation, I will be exploring how COVID affected the top 6 economies in the world. So one way to measure the economic performance of a country is by looking at its gross domestic product or GDP. So in this visualization, we have a general overview of GDP by year and country. The top 6 economies were held by the United States, the United Kingdom, Japan, India, Germany, and China. So here we have a map with the 6 countries, and we have a slider here so we can adjust what year we want to look at. So the years in the data range from 1991 to 2020. So in the line graph, we can see that China and the United States had the largest GDPs, while the other 4 countries had similar GDPs and similar growths. So let's move on to look at a closer view of this graph in a different format. Here we have the same graphs just split out by country. And in this case, I chose a exponential trend line. So looking at the P and R squared values for this trends, we can see that all the P values are less than 0.05, meaning the models are statistically significant. And the R square values are mostly close to 1, except for Japan. And again, we have the forecast lines here. Just looking at one example, I'm going to look at the United States. For the year 2021, it forecasts a GDP of about 22.5 trillion. But I did a quick search online, and I found that it was actually 23 or closer to 23 trillion. So unfortunately, that does not land within the values of this confidence interval. So I'm gonna say I have low confidence on this forecast. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So here we can start to see the effects of COVID by the year 2020. You can see GDP growth has decreased sharply in all of these countries, especially the United Kingdom. And here we have a linear trend line for all of these. Only China and the United States had a p-value less than 0.05. The rest were above that. And the data stops right at 2020, so we would probably need uh, future data sets to actually get a good picture of how COVID impacted these economies. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. So another factor we can study in this data set is unemployment rate. Um, this chart plots the unemployment rate versus year for each country. So again, we see that COVID had a dramatic effect on unemployment rate in all countries, especially India. For this, I used polynomial to the 5th degree for the trend lines. Here are the forecasts for each of these graphs, and I probably would say I don't really have much confidence in them just because based on how large the interval, the 95% confidence intervals are. So yeah, overall, I think COVID had a negative impact on these six countries' economies. So thank you for watching. That concludes this presentation.